Okay, in this video we're going to get started on isometric drawings. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set up an isometric grid rather than this orthographic grid we've got right now. To do that, I can type isodraft, which gives me options for isoplane left, top, or right. I'll do right. The other way to do that, if I go back, the other way to do that is I can hit F5. Well, let's see. Okay, first of all, sorry, forgot something. The other way to go about doing that is I can type grid settings. If I right click on the grid down here, go to grid settings, I can come down here to snap type, and I can set up an isometric snap rather than a rectangular snap. And then make sure grid is on and hit OK. So there we go, I've got my isoplane left that comes up right now. I can toggle through that by hitting the F5 key, so now I'm on isoplane top or isoplane right. Okay, so I'll just quickly set up my grid. I'll say 0.2, snap, 0.1. Okay, so I'll just draw an object quickly. I'll start somewhere around here. You can see how it's going to want to snap to 30-degree and 150-degree lines here. Make sure that the polar tracking is on. If I have that off, it will not snap nicely to a 30-degree angle, so you want to keep that on. So I'll draw something, a little box here. Okay, I've got myself a box here. So if I wanted to put a hole or a circle or something on this face here, I can't just use the circle command, because if I do that, it's going to come up in a normal orthographic circle. So I'm going to have to type an ellipse. So you can see it's giving me options here, so I can specify axis endpoint, or I can come over here and type iso circle. So the isometric circle will figure out that I am drawing in the isoplane right. So if I specify my right as, okay, I want it centered on this one and here. So here we go, there's the center of that face. And you can see that the ellipse is already lining up at that 30-degree angle that I wanted it to be at. So now I can type a radius or a diameter if I change it to diameter. Radius is fine, I'll go with a radius of 1.5. So there's my circle. Okay, one last thing that I'll mention. I think Karen typically prefers a dotted background for isometrics. If you would rather have dots for your background rather than this grid, you can go back into the grid settings, which is just right click on the grid down here, grid settings, grid style. I'm going to display a dotted grid in 2D model space and hit OK. So there's my dots, and I can continue to draw 30-degree lines with those dots now. I usually prefer the lined grid, so I can just unclick that dotted grid and it'll go back to the lines. So there you have it for isometrics.